sound of wind howling, followed by a sudden creak of an old building. Have you ever been somewhere so old, so silent, that the quiet itself starts to make noise? That was me, Ethan, tucked away in what had to be the most remote in the country. I was there to photograph forgotten places, and the old, abandoned church on the hill was my jackpot. Or so I thought. That night, sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford. The wind outside wasn't just blowing, it was wailing, like it was trying to tell me something. The inn groaned around me, a symphony of creaking floorboards and moaning pipes. Somewhere in the empty halls, a door slammed shut. Then again, and again. I kept telling myself it was just a draft, just an old building settling, but I was the only guest. Who else could it be? Around midnight, with my heart already doing a nervous little dance, I decided to distract myself. I opened my laptop to look at the photos from the church. The first shot, the crumbling facade, beautifully tragic. The second, sunlight streaming through a shattered stained glass window. Everything was as it should be. Then I clicked to the third photo, and my blood ran cold. There, nestled between two splintered pews, was a shape. It was a shadow, but it had formed the distinct silhouette of a tall man in a long coat. He's back to me, facing the desolate altar. My first thought was that I'd missed someone, another explorer perhaps. I zoomed in, my fingers trembling slightly on the trackpad. The closer I got, the more wrong it felt. The figure. It at no face. Just a smooth dark void where features should have been. I blinked, trying to clear my eyes, and the image on the screen seemed to shimmer. Just for a second. It was then that I heard it. A whisper, faint and dry, crawling through my headphones. But I wasn't playing any audio. There was no video, just a still image. The voice was thin, like rustling leaves, and it said, "He's still here." I slammed the laptop shut so hard the plastic groaned in protest. My pulse was a drumbeat against my ribs, loud and frantic. I had to get my mind off it. Anything. I stood up, pacing the small room, my own shadow dancing eerily on the walls. I started rummaging through my camera bag, just for something to do, my hands just needing to be busy, and that's when I found it. It was something I hadn't packed, something I'd never seen before in my life. A small diarrhea, bound in black leather, that felt as dark and cold as a tombstone. It was damp to the touch, despite being inside my dry bag. With shaking hands, I opened it. The first page was stark white, empty. I held my breath and turned to the second. The handwriting was shaky, frantic, like the author was writing against time. To that day read December 11th, 1913. My eyes scanned the spidery script. They say the preacher has lost his mind. He speaks of voices under the altar, of saints who never died but sleep beneath us. Tomorrow, the entry continued, he will open the floor to let them rise. God help us. My throat felt like sandpaper. This was written about the church. The very church where I'd taken that photo. The church with the faceless figure. My fingers, now clumsy and numb, flipped forward a few pages, searching for the next entry. Primera, found Italiano, December 12th, 1913. It was shorter, the words more rushed, more desperate. We heard the screams, then nothing. There was a long pause in the writing, a gap of terror before the final words were scrawled onto the page. The floor was gone. I think they woke up. I stared at that last sentence, a chill spreading from my spine outwards. It wasn't just the words, it was the ink. The last line was written in something darker, thicker, and distinctly reddish-brown. It wasn't ink. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from downstairs, much closer this time, as if something heavy had been dropped right below my room. I jumped, dropping the diary. It fell open on the floor, revealing pages I hadn't seen yet. More entries, more dates. But as I leaned down to pick it up, I noticed something else. The handwriting was changing. The elegant, looped script of 1913 was slowly morphing, page by page, into something more modern, more jagged. I flipped towards the end of the book, my curiosity now a morbid, unstoppable force. The entries became sporadic. 1945. A soldier came back from the war, said he was looking for peace. He went to the church. He never came back. 1978, a group of teenagers dared each other to spend a night inside. Only one ran out, screaming about a man in a long coat who walked through the walls. Each story was a new nightmare, a new disappearance linked to that cursed place. The final few pages were almost unreadable. The script a barely controlled scroll. The dates were getting closer. A week ago, 3 days ago. Den primera sa, W italiano, the last entry. The date was today. The handwriting, it was mine. I hadn't written it, but it was my exact handwriting. It read, "He knows I have the book. He's coming for me. The inn isn't safe. The door." The sentence was left unfinished. Just then, the slow, deliberate creak of a floorboard sounded from right outside my hotel room door. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't the building settling. Someone, or something, was out there, and I was suddenly, horribly aware of the long, dark hallway that separated me from the stairs, from the exit, from escape. My gaze darted from the diary in my hands to the door of my room. Underneath, the shadow was pooling, stretching and growing, blotting out the thin line of light from the hallway. It was a shadow that had no source. A silence fell over the inn, deeper and more profound than before. The wind stopped howling. The pipes went quiet. The only sound left was the frantic, desperate hammering of my own heart. The doorknob began to turn. Slowly, silently. Thank you so much for coming along on this chilling tale. If stories that keep you up at night are your thing, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss what happens next. Stay safe out there, and maybe think twice before exploring that old, abandoned building down the road. See you in the next one.